Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. Hold my beer. We've all heard that phrase, and we understand it to be uttered in one of those moments when someone is about to do something risky and likely pretty dumb. I'm going to start again just to make sure we get it this time. Hold my beer. We've all heard that phrase, and we understand it to be uttered in one of those moments when someone is about to do something risky and likely pretty dumb. When we hear that phrase, we expect that someone is going to get hurt doing something anyone in their right mind would never do. The rest of us, those holding the beer, are just supposed to stand there and watch it happen. The thing is, God does something a bit like that in Exodus, although we don't usually notice it. More about that in a moment. As we make our way through the Advent season, as we make our way through this time of waiting and expectation, we are looking at times in the Bible when people waited. And sometimes that waiting was hard. Today we want to consider the Hebrew people who were slaves in Egypt. First of all, slavery was hard. The Bible goes to extremes to mention the harshness of their taskmasters. Let me clear up something for you, however. The pyramids are so ancient that they were old when the Hebrews were slaves in Egypt. They weren't building the pyramids, in spite of what the movies might say. But they were doing hard work in the harsh sun. And as slaves, they didn't receive any benefit for their work. They had no freedom. And so they bemoaned their lot in life. They cried out to God for help. Sometimes I think when we look at history, we lose sight of how much time is involved. What I mean by that is that the Hebrews were in Egypt for 400 some odd years. Let me put that in perspective. Our own country is a little over 200 years old. So imagine what our world was like and how long ago 200 years before George Washington is. The Pilgrims landed at Plymouth in 1620. That's about 400 years ago. And that's how long we are talking about. That's a long time to be slaves and to serve someone else. That's a long time to cry out to God. That's a long time to wait for deliverance. Waiting is hard. When the time came, God raised up Moses to lead the people to freedom. You likely know how Moses kept asking the Pharaoh to let the people go and how Pharaoh refused. So God would bring a plague on the Egyptians, but still Pharaoh refused. Finally, after the 10th plague, when the oldest child in each Egyptian family died, Pharaoh relented and the Hebrews vamoosed out of town. Quickly, however, the Pharaoh changed his mind and sought to bring the people back. He sent an army after them. Now remember, these are unarmed, untrained civilians who have been slaves as long as anyone can remember. This would be pretty fearsome to have an army come after you if you were in that situation. And that's when we come back to that hold my beer phrase. As they cowered in fear, God said to Moses, "The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to keep still." You'll find this in Exodus 14:14. In other words, you stand there and watch what I'm going to do. I'll fight for you. You stand there and don't fight at all. Just watch this. And the next thing that happens is that the waters of the Red Sea divide, and God tells them to move across. And then when the Egyptian army seeks to follow, the waters crash back and the army is gone. The freedom they had waited for so long is finally theirs. They waited to be free. They waited and watched as God fought for them. That last part is so hard for us because we so often want to do something. Maybe we should remember what my friend Henry McKay said to me, that we are called to be human beings, not human doings. Maybe we need to live in more trust and wait for God. God will act. All we need do is stand there and watch this. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.